This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 25, verse 7. And he will destroy in this mountain the face of the covering cast over all people, and the veil that is spread over all nations. Let me read that in the NIV. On this mountain he will destroy the shroud that enfolds all peoples, the sheet that covers all nations. And the Lord is revealing all of the tricks and snares and the social constructs that these devils, came up with, to further persecute and further oppress our people. First and foremost, before I get started, I want to thank Bahasham, Yahawashi for putting the spirit on me to do this lesson. And I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham, Kadash. I want to give double honor to the apostle and elders of GMS who teach and rule well, who taught me his truth. Salutation, you brothers and sisters that are out there listening and learning, fighting this good fight of faith. And salutation, my fellow brethren that are pushing his word in all truth and sincerity. To you all, I want to say shalom. And I hope and pray this lesson be edifying to the elect. So, as you brothers and sisters can see on your screen, this is from Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Ritchie. And it says, makeup company sparks outrage with jet black foundation. So let's play a little bit of this video and, get into the lesson. So without further ado, here we go. This is fair use. Fair use is for educational purposes only. Here we go.
Cosmetic company slammed over selling what seems to be blackface. All right, I'm going to let the expert explain, and then I will give you context. Here it is.
Which side of my face is the black face paint or the Euphoria foundation? T, you can't tell. You know why? Tar in a bottle. This is jet black face paint, and this is the darkest shade of the Euphoria Date Night foundation. This is black face paint. This is the darkest shade of the Euphoria foundation. A few months ago, I tried the darkest shade of the Euphoria foundation. This is what it looked like on me. I'm gonna apply some of the foundation on this side of my face so you guys can see. Let's just go ahead and try to blend this out, you guys. Who is that color?
Who is that color, right? And this is why it's so important for you Israelites, especially you Israelites of the Southern Kingdom, you so-called Negroes, West Indians, and Haitians, to stop referring to yourselves as black, because this is what the other nations look at you when they call you black. They're looking at you as you're actually the color black, right? And as we're going to get into this lesson, this is where the color psychology comes in, calling yourself black and what have you. And this, came from the beloved elder Malcolm. He always brings this out, and he talks about this beautiful book. I'll put it on the screen real quick. I want to read a little bit of it. But it's Birth of a White Nation, The Invention of White People and Its Relevance Today by Jacqueline Badalora. And as I said, Elder Malcolm brought out this beautiful information, and in this lesson, I want to kind of hop on those different points of why, the Lord has to, through the spirit and power, Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi has to destroy the covering cast over all people, man, because these devils have told everybody that they're basically a box of crayons, man. You got black people, you got white people. Now you do have red people, but they said the people that are red are the Native Americans, so it all goes into color psychology. So let's get this word shroud right quick. Translation, for the book of Isaiah 25 and 7 in NIV. On this mountain he will destroy the shroud that enfolds all peoples, the sheet that covers all nations, right? So when you look up this word shroud, right, it means a cloth or sheet in which a corpse is wrapped for burial, right? So as the scriptures say, Isaiah 60 and 2, behold, the darkness shall cover the earth, and gross darkness the people. But the Lord, Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi, shall arise upon thee, and his glory shall be upon thee. So, gross darkness is covering the people, man. People have no clue what's going on. They have no clue why they call themselves white, why they call themselves black, why they even call themselves Chinese, because that's not even their biblical nationality, or Japanese, or any of the nationalities that people call themselves today. Even Africans, that's named after a so-called white man, right? Even Americans, people saying they're African American, Jakes, so you're telling me that you were named after you came from two white men, so it doesn't make sense, man. And that's why, we have to, through the spirit and power of Bahasham, Yahawashi, break these strongholds that are on our people, man. Let's see. This is John 8:32, and it's Yahawashi speaking. And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. So it's very important, for us to understand that there's a reason why they started doing this. So let's before we get let's start off with this. Let's start off with the book, and then I'll get into it more. So as I said, this is from the book Birth of a White Nation, right? The invention of white people and its relevance today. So I just want to read a couple excerpts out of it. So I'll start off with page 2, the second paragraph, and it says, the label white, reflecting a group of humanity, appears nowhere in law until 1681. So before 1681, there was no such thing in law as white people. They just didn't exist, right? So they made it, let's get it. They made it for a reason. What's that? Isaiah 90, 94? No. Frame of mischief. Let me see. Slovakia. There we go. Psalms, okay. Psalms 94:20. Shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee, which frameth mischief by a law? Right? And that's exactly what these devils do. They frame mischief by laws, man. They push forth all these unrighteous decrees, as it talks about in Isaiah 10. I'll start 10:1. It reads, woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, and that write grievousness which they have prescribed. Right? So in this book, it explains how they used this term white, as an unrighteous decree to for towards grievousness towards the children of Israel, man. It says that the label white, reflecting a group of humanity, appears nowhere in law until 1681. It first appears in an enactment passed by the Colonial Assembly of the colony of Maryland. The question is, who were white people prior to this invention, right? And the so-called white people are Esau, Edom, as it described in the scriptures, man. The ones that go back to their forefather Esau, because our people, due to the curse in Deuteronomy 28:64, Israel was scattered to every nation. So every so-called white-looking person isn't necessarily an Edomite, So we just have to, I just have to make that clarification, because it's not every so-called white person, but the majority of the so-called white people are indeed the offsprings their forefathers Esau, Edom. The question is, who were white people prior to this invention? What did it mean when they became white? What was a problem that lawmakers sought to address through the imposition of this new category of humanity? Right? So when we go to, let me see. Let me grab this other point because that was a good point too. So let me read this. So this is page 15. All right, and it reads, the subtitle reads, Creating Difference in Law. And it says, the degree of similarity of treatment between those of African descent and those who would become white prior to 1680 in Virginia and Maryland and up to 1800 in other areas is well established. There is also evidence of different treatment. It is in those areas where treatment was not similar that clues might be found to explain the emergence of the human category white. Evidence of different treatment is not reviewed here because it overshadows the evidence that Europeans and Africans engage in relationships of trust and mutuality. It does, Slovakia. It does not. Rather, it is important in order to make visible the process that eventually gave rise to the social and legal change in the colony that dramatically altered those relationships of mutuality, cooperation, and trust between persons of African and European ancestry. Right? So this term caused a major division, within these colonies, and well, let's keep reading. It says, for example, the experience of coming to the colonies was different. European Edomites, right? Bond laborers entered contracts by their labor and traveled without literal chains across the Atlantic. The journey took between 8 to 12 weeks and was difficult. Indentured servants were packed into the hull of the ship with little or no fresh air and were given a ration of bread every 2 weeks. Right? So this is the, like different Edomites that want to claim that, they're Jakes or what have you. And some of them are, but this is what they tend to bring up, indentured servants. But it is a difference. And it says, in contrast, African laborers, right, which most were, Israelites, were exclusively stolen people forced through the Middle Passage in chains under grueling conditions. Winthrop Jordan highlights another way in which Israelites were set apart from from Edomites, British and Europeans generally, the label Negroes in 1968. Similarly, native tribal members were set apart from the English not only by the word Indians, but by their treatment. Right, so they were already beginning to separate, the Israelites from the Edomites, and this proves that, and the natives, who they called Indians, which Indian means savage, were so they called, they basically ended up calling us black, the Southern Kingdom, and then they called the Northern Kingdom, we call them Indians, which means savage, which goes all into all. This whole lesson is, pretty much centered around, that particular curse. Let's get that real quick before we go on. Where'd I put it? Deuteronomy 28:37. And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations, whither the Lord shall lead thee. So what's the word proverb mean?
Proverb.
A short, pithy saying in general use, stating a general truth or piece of advice, right? Even when you look at the word byword, it means a person.
Byword.
A person or thing cited as a notorious and outstanding example or embodiment of something. Right? So they put, let's just use modern day, examples. Right? So they put People like let's see, this demon, Sexy Red, in front of our people and in front of all the masses, so that she's a face for what the so-called black woman is, what she is, you know. And a lot of our people follow it, and a lot of them do it and everything, but this is a byword, you know. Look at dancing while she's pregnant, just degenerate. And then they show the men being effeminate. Super emotional, you know, emotional, weirdos, violent, tattoos on their face, right? So they put our people in a category. Revelation 12:10, and I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now is come salvation and strength and the kingdom of our power and the power of his anointed. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our power day and night, right? So let's look up that word real quick for any new listeners. The word accuser in the Greek
Strong's G 2723. Categareo.
Categoreo, which sounds like what? Categorize. You put us in a box, right? To accuse, judge before a judge, to make an accusation, right? So basically, these Edomites are coming up against us, say, "Oh, look at all this evil that, you know, they're doing." Before they're accusing us before Yahawah and Yahawashi, as if they aren't the reason why our people are going off in the first place, you know. So let's get let me see. I just want to get this last part, and then I'll continue on in the lesson. I don't want to make this too long. So this is Back in Birth of a White Nation, page 17, and it reads, in Virginia, a law was enacted in 1640 that prohibited those of African descent, Israelites, right, from possessing firearms, right? Now, this was something that was, you could see that in more recent history, you know, how they deny Israelites from having firearms. They, you know, a lot of states, you know, already do it, but, you know, they put all these unrighteous decrees to make it difficult for Jakes to have that Second Amendment right, you know, and it's all by design. In Virginia, a law was enacted in 1640 that prohibited those of Israelite descent from possessing firearms. However, the law appears to have been ignored and unenforced. This 1640 enactment is noteworthy because it suggests a very early sign of a desire on the part of lawmakers to treat Israelites, it says Africans, but Israelites, in an inferior manner. It is equally noteworthy that this effort was apparently rejected by the community. These laws build upon the law that linked the status of a child with that of her mother and set the groundwork for the invention of whites, quote unquote, by starting to divide people in ways that the invention of white people dramatically accelerated. They reveal an understanding of perceived human difference rooted in sufficient likeness or unlikeness to the British. Finally, they help to reveal constitutional patterns and commitments that will be elaborated upon later. So this is an excellent book. You know, I highly suggest, you know, you brothers and sisters grab this. You know, as I said, you know, this information was brought out by the beloved Elder Malcolm. And this creation of white, set a tone for a lot of events that happen in the world today. So let's get into color psychology, right? Well, let's see. Let me play a little bit more of this, and then we'll set the tone more. All right. So here we go.
I'm gonna wipe this off and let me put the paint all over my face. I'm literally just going in with the face paint. We're gonna do some painting, and let me just go ahead and blend it out with a brush. This is the darkest shade of the Euphoria foundation. This is black face paint. Sometimes it's okay to say, hey, maybe my brand is not made for complexion. I'm gonna squeeze a pump of this on my forehead just right out the bottle so you guys can see that I'm literally not joking. We're gonna do a big blend of this, guys.
It's a damn shame, man. And this is Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi revealing these devils. And just so you Israelites know, because the top devil, of course, is Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, but we have many enemies, right? So let's read that real quick, and let's go check out who the owner of that company is that's put that black, basically tar, in a bottle and said that there's people running around looking like that. So this is Psalm 83, and I'll just go straight to the point. Start at 2. For lo, thine enemies, whose enemies? The enemies of the nation of Israel. You so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, right? Make a tumult, make a agreement, and they that hate thee, right? These other nations, they hate you, Jake. They hate you, and that's why they do these different things. They have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. So they're completely against us. They have taken crafty counsel against the nation of Israel. And what did they say? They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation. Let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. Let's continue on, right? So the reason why we're in this situation is first and foremost because the curses, right? As we read, we should be a proverb and a byword, right? So we're going to be called everything that we're not. We're not going to be told, that we're Israelites, except, from the prophets that Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi set up, Psalms 83 and 5. For they have consulted together with one consent. So all our enemies came together and they all agreed they are confederate against thee. And here's a list. The tabernacles of Edom, so-called white man, and the Ishmaelites, so-called Arabs, and Moab, so-called Chinese, and the Hagarenes, which I believe is Hamites. Gabal and Ammon, which is a Japanese. Amalek, which is the baby hats. The Philistines with the inhabitants of Tyre, which is more Hamites. So they all came together and were confederate against us to take the name of Israel out of remembrance from us, right? And as the scriptures say, in the land of our captivity, we shall remember ourselves. Let's get that, man. What's that, Baruch? This is Baruch 2 and 30 in the Apocrypha. For I knew that they would not hear me, because it is a stiff-necked people. Who's known as a stiff-necked people? Israel. Right? You so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans are very hard-headed, man. This is why in the scriptures the Lord has to repeat himself multiple times, because our people are very hard-headed, man. But what does it say? But in the land of their captivities, right? We were scattered amongst all nations and brought into captivity amongst all these different nations. It says they shall remember themselves, right? So how we have to remember ourselves if we already knew that we were already a people, as according to those baby hats over there, man, the 1948ers, the big noses, you know, they claim they always knew that they were of the children of God, but the scriptures say otherwise, and the Lord is a man that he cannot lie. So, you know, the scriptures say, "Let the Most High be true, and every man a liar," man. So we already know what time it is, and you know, and these people are being exposed. Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi is exposing these damn devils, man. So let's see.
This is actually marketed as a shade for black people. There's more.
When we say that we want you guys to make shades for us, we don't mean to go to the lab and ask for minstrel show black. What we mean is to take the browns that you have made, create undertones, and do what you need to do in the lab so it's a darker shade of black.
So it's a darker shade of brown. So why are you saying that you're black? Why are you subscribing to calling yourself black? This is the mental issues that our people have with identifying with black culture, man. Now let's get into the color psychology of these words, you know. So the word color psychology from Wikipedia, it means color psychology is a study of hues as a determinant of human behavior. So that's very important. Color and hues determine or help determine human behavior, right? So let's remember that. Color influences perceptions that are not obvious, such as the taste of food. Colors have qualities that can cause certain emotions in people. How color influences individuals may differ depending on age, gender, and culture. Although color associations can vary contextually between cultures, color preference is thought to be relative uniform across gender and race. And they talk about it here, they use it in marketing and branding and what have you. Now, let's just remember this first part. Color psychology is a study of hues as a determinant of human behavior. So, with that being said, let's start off with white, right? So, as I said, let's read this first and I'll go into it. Color psychology of white, I put in. It says, white often symbolizes cleanliness, purity, and safety in Western culture. Western, when they say Western culture, they're talking about Edomite culture. For example, American brides typically wear white to represent innocence before starting their marriage. The color can also represent neutrality or space. In fact, white creates breathing room between two or more elements, right? So it represents innocence. Now I have this pulled up, and this is a list it's a long list too. Damn. List of unarmed African Americans, right, who also identify as black, killed by law enforcement officers in the United States. And it goes before 2000 to 2009. I mean, the list goes on and on. So you just click on a random, time. And you have, all these killings of Israelites, man. January 29, 2010, Aaron Campbell, 25, Portland, Oregon. After firing 6 beanbag rounds at Campbell, Officer Ryan Luton shot him in the back. Police were responding to a welfare call, right? So he didn't have a gun on February 4th, 2010, Daryl Swain, 38, Wilmington, excuse me, Delaware. A police officer investigating a murder witnessed a robbery in process where a robber held Swain and another man at gunpoint. Okay. So they were held at gunpoint. The officer fired at the robber, wounding him and killing Swain. The robber was charged with murder in connection with. So they just basically charged and I'm sure if I looked into this, the officer wasn't charged. You know, so there's a whole list, and majority of these officers most likely got off, without doing any jail time, because that's the country that we live in. But that's the importance of the color psychology, because what is the color psychology of the word black mean? It says, what does black color mean in psychology? Right? So let's look up the word psychology real quick. Let's see. So psychology is the scientific study of the mind and behavior, right? Psychologists are actively involved in studying and understanding mental processes, brain functions, and behavior. So all of these things tie in with behavior and the way people process things, right? And color psychology is no different. So let's see what happens, or what the color black means, in psychology. It says, what does black color mean in psychology? However, many use the color black to symbolize all things negative. That's it right there. All things negative. Throughout history, this somber color has been tied to death and all things evil and bad. So why would anybody want to be called black? Because it's literally tied to death and all things bad. It evokes strong feelings of anger, aggression, fear, and sadness. Now, what's the top saying that these devils like to say? These Edomite cops that like to take down our people, gun them down. I feared for my life. How are they able to go to the court and get away with this unless that color psychology isn't in play, man? These unrighteous decrees, this way that they have categorized our people. And all you have to do is go on YouTube and look up rap videos or something. Let's do it. This is the way that they categorize our people, man. They'll show us, especially the younger generation, guns, drugs, money, So it's probably, let me see. Let's look up this demon right here. And the Lord took his ass out. He was a for real demon. But these are the images that, are plastered all over the internet, man. Jake just being a bunch of damn degenerates. So then you slap that title black on top of it, and then people, all they think is what? All things negative, death, and all things evil and bad. So it's not hard for, these devils to gun our people down, man. It's not hard for them and get away with it. So now, let's go to the truth of the matter, right? So let's get Genesis 25, right? So this is Genesis 25, and I'll just go straight to the point. So, I'll start here. So, Isaac and Rebekah, right? Isaac being our forefather, Jacob's and Esau's father. His wife Rebekah had Jacob and Esau were in the womb together, right? They were twins, and it says Genesis 25 and 23. And the Lord said unto her, 2 nations, right, are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. So our top enemy is indeed Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. You know, the ones that go back to the man Esau. That is our top enemy. And it says, and the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger, which proves in the future, you know, once these devils go down, they are indeed going into captivity, man. They're going into slavery. They put us into slavery, and guess what? They're going into slavery. You shall reap what you sow. And they hate when we say it, but we don't care. You know, we don't care how you feel. You're beneath us anyway. The only reason that you're even in power right now is because our nation went off. If we never went off, you would never be above us. And if you wasn't ever blessed with the sword, you would never be able to take us down. Because even the natives, you still had a problem with them. Showing how weak you devils are, man. Anyway. And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. And here's the point. And the first came out red all over like an hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. And Esau in the Hebrew is Ashashua, which means wasted away is he, which means it's pigment. Excuse me. There's only 2 colors of people on the planet. There are different shades of brown and different shades of red. That's it. So real quick, let's just do sunburn. So the red people are indeed Esau, Edom, so-called white man. Look at it. And this is just this could be a little day out in the sun, man. Their blood shows forth through their skin, right? So before I move on to this, before I forget, because Moab is an enemy as well. I almost slipped my mind. So Moab is the so-called Chinese people today, right? So the owner of this company is, what's her name? Fiona Ko Chan. Let's see. Let's look. As a matter of fact, let's look up her name. Background. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, well, of course they ain't trying to. Before founding, early war, traditional makeup, China's most polluted. Yeah. So yeah, she's most likely Moab, right? So Moab looks down on you Israelites as well, and they also believe that because of this color psychology, that which whiteness is, you know, because the scriptures talk about it shall be made white, meaning pure. So white does go into that, but they've bought into this idea of the Edomites, being white. And that's where the problem lies. And they took it a step further. So this is the owner, right? Moab. And this is, I looked up, why do Chinese people paint their faces white, right? So they literally look like a clown because ain't nobody walking around with a white face. For example, women who painted their faces white embodied the ideal of feminine beauty and purity. So this is how these devils, Esau, Edom, have used this social construct to their advantage. Since white was associated with the moon, a symbol of femininity and purity in Chinese culture, the white face makeup style was popularized during the Tang dynasty and continued to be worn throughout the Song dynasty, right? And as it says in Psalms 83, where is it at? So you had Moab and you had Ammon, right? Which is a Japanese. So let's look at what the Japanese do. They do the same goofy shit. And they just look like a so-called white person. That's why they be walking around with a damn umbrella, and even Jakes, they be, trying to lighten their skin and everything, because this whole social construct that was put forth in this invention of the white race, people, they link whiteness with pureness, right? And we're going to get what they really are in a second. It says, by Adam Akar, PhD, in the past, there was no electricity in Japan, so artists entertained by dim candlelight, eventually they started painting the faces white to what? To look more beautiful in such conditions. This is why, they have these Edomites, women on these magazines, and they flaunt them as the most beautiful women in the world. Most of the time they be basic as hell, but this is what they show in order to assert dominance and to put their people on the top. So now let's look up real quick before we end this lesson. Let's look up the red man, right? Now if people were to start looking at this devil for the color that he truly is, then it would be different, right? Red is associated with passion, love, and lust. It can also be associated with warnings of danger or even with anger, hence the term seeing red. Red can have a psychological impact on people too, including raising respirations and heart rate. Yeah, because when the devil comes around, man, just like when Jake gets pulled over and there's some damn Edomite coming out, you already know what time it is most of the time, man, because these devils are all, they seeketh blood, man. There we go. Ezekiel 35. Let me go back. Let me start at 5. There we go. Ezekiel 35 and 5. Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred against the Israelites, right? And has shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end. Therefore, as I live, saith the Lord, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee. If thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee. Thus shall I make Mount Seir most desolate, and cut them off, and cut off from it him that passeth out, and him that returneth, man. So Esau, Edom, so-called white people, you got hell to pay, man. You got absolute hell to pay. So let's look up real quick, because us knowing the truth, is powerful, man, and it frees us from the mental shackles that these devils have put upon our people, man. So it says, what does the color brown mean? Right? With different shades of brown, right? As this let me see, let me go back.
Cosmetic company.
Right? As she's a beautiful shade of brown, right? So let's see what the color psychology on brown is. It says, what does the color brown mean in psychology? In color psychology, brown is honest, genuine, and sincere. It relates to the hardworking and industrious and reliable, with both feet planted firmly on the ground. It is sensual, sensitive, and warm, engulfing one in a feeling of calmness and comfort. It is a practical and sensible color which implies common sense. And this is our people, man. You know, they were in this, but this is what we were turning onto, man, through the spirit and power of Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi. Once we come back to our power, you know, as the scriptures say, the wisdom, laws, and commandments are our how's it go? Our wisdom in the sight of the nations, man. The nation's gonna say, what wise and understanding people are these who have the Lord so nigh unto them, right? So when you understand how everything has been played out, how they've been killing our people, how they've been putting them in a category, you know, how they've been being disrespectful, how they've been turning everything upside down. Let's get that. Isaiah 29:16. Surely your turning of things upside down shall be esteemed as a potter's clay. For shall the work say of him that made it, he made me not? Or shall the thing framed say of him that framed it, he have no understanding? So they turn everything upside down, but the Lord is soon turning everything right side up, man. You know, as we're seeing right before our very eyes, man. You know? So when you think about the color psychology, and you think about how these devils have used it against our people, you know, you Israelites, wouldn't it make more sense to call yourself an Israelite from your respective tribe than to refer to yourself as Indian or black, especially black? You know what I mean? Because you see all the negative, things that are linked with being black, man, and which is what the devil has used against our people ever since 1681. Well, you know, after they created white people, soon after they created black people, you know, or African descent, and then they started, you know, moving forward with their unrighteous decrees, and here we are to this very day being disrespected by these goddamn cave dwellers, man. Matter of fact, real quick, and look at this real quick. Let me see if I had it pulled up. I had it pulled up. Well, I had it up there, but it basically went into how these devils called they went back and forth with. Matter of fact, let me see, maybe it's on here. Black maybe. Yeah, it was one of these, but it talked about how how they use black and white, you know, against it, like pitted against each other, and they called, you know, after Rome fell, the so-called Dark Ages. Yeah, I don't have it on here. And then they called once Esau came up out of those caves or what have you, you know, in the Renaissance, they called that the time of enlightenment. You know, so these devils always, you know, playing games and shit, you know. But as the scriptures say, let me read that and I'll close out. John 8:32, and ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free, man. So break those mental shackles off your minds, Israel. Stop calling yourself black. You know, we're all different shades of brown, and you know, and the so-called white people, you know, are different shades of red, and even our, you know, fellow brethren, you know, that look like them. There's only two color sets of colors in the world, man. Different shades of brown and different shades of red, man. From pink to reddish. Certain Edomites are always red as hell, like looking like this background, and then you have light brown, almost yellow, which yellow is a derivative of brown, all the way down to a very dark brown. You know what I'm saying? But nobody's black and nobody's white. So these social constructs, gotta die, man. And it starts with the spirit and power of Yahawashi, pushing this truth out there to the four corners, man. So that's pretty much it. I hope and pray this lesson was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to thank Yahawashi once again for putting the spirit on me to do this lesson. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham, Rakakadash. I want to give double honor to the apostles and the elders of GMS who teach and rule well, who taught me this truth. Excuse me, salutations, you brothers and sisters that are out there listening, learning, fighting this good fight of faith. And salutation, my fellow brethren that are pushing this word in all truth and sincerity. To you all, I want to say Shalom. I want to say Abba Babal, Abad Esau Edom, and Kwam Yasharallah. And Shalom. To the next one.